quite had something like that happen with, your kicker getting injured in warm-ups there and kind of being stuck in a tough situation?
No, that was the first time. I think a few years ago that happened to some other team as well, and I can't remember which exact team. But that's really where the value of trying to create flex and practicing the backups every week is very important.
Where do you stand with Jamie? Like when you're in those situations as a kicker, and like, what approximately is his range? Like, what do you feel like he could do when he has to step into that role?
Yeah, obviously with that not being his primary position, it's going to be more limited than a National Football League kicker that's trained to do that. But it will depend on obviously where we're kicking, that in terms of the range, like whether it's windy, the home game, away game. But it's definitely a little bit more restricted just with that being his secondary trait.
What do you like about Younghoe?
Younghoe, he's a veteran kicker that's kicked in this league for a long time, has kicked at a Pro Bowl level. You can tell the little bit of I've got to know him. There's an authentic confidence that you see with him, that the situation is not too big for him, and you see that amount to success. So to me, it's a no-brainer why he's had so many game-winning kicks. There's a level of confidence he goes out there knowing that he can execute at a high level.
Does that confidence help then when things go wrong? I mean, we've heard you say it. You hear guys talk all the time about, when things go bad for kickers and, then you have to turn it around, that fight to try to get it back.
Yeah.
Does that help?
No, absolutely. Again, to me, the best kickers in this league are the ones that have a next snap and clear mentality, good, bad, or indifferent. So you make a kick, that's although you'll gain more confidence going into it, that's not a declaration that you're going to make the next one. So whether you make it, miss it, have an issue on it, you just got to learn from it, and then you got to move on and go play the next kick.
Is this a straight competition for the next few days?
Yeah, always is. I think the biggest thing in the National Football League is any opportunity you have to create competition at any position, I think is critical, and it ultimately elevates the level of the people competing, and it ultimately gives you a better idea of who can give us the best chance to win.
And you want to pick one for Sunday?
Yeah, since only one can play, yeah, I believe so. Yep.
When you look back at Younghoe's tape last year, when you're bringing him in for the tryout, was there an injury involved to the amount of misses that he had? What did you attribute that with?
Yeah, I'm not really privy to what went down in the building over there. I do know that he is healthy now. And again, like I put a lot of stock into, the culmination of his career. So when I see him kicking well when he got here, I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's a guy we know, and he seems healthy and he's doing a good job.
So you don't feel like it obviously didn't end well for him in Atlanta, right? When he comes here, your approach is just let him be, like let him do what he's done throughout his career, or you feel like there's something you guys need to fix?
No. There's certainly always going to be an acclimation process to where he has to learn the way we do things here. That operation changes from organization to organization. Him learning Jamie, him learning Casey. I think those are two things that are critical. Now, do I think that it could be a seamless transition for a guy that's kicked 7 years in this league? Yes, because he knows what to look for. He knows what he's going to ask those guys to do. So I think that learning process has to happen, but it could happen fairly quickly.
Tracy down, probably Singletary would have more of an offensive role. Does that change your kick return?
Potentially. We always practice all those guys today, and we'll take a look at who gives us the best opportunity to return on Sunday.
Are there ways? Everybody seems to be kicking away from Gunner on those plays. Are there ways to outmaneuver that?
There could be. Yeah. At the end of the day, like, to have the range to cover 53 1/3 with one single returner is difficult. Especially when you're seeing these hang times lower and lower. Kickers are doing a great job of hiding intentions on which direction they're going. So it makes it more difficult to feature a primary returner. But at the end of the day, you practice it, and when you get those kicks your way, you want to take advantage of it. I think the biggest thing when a guy seems like he's being somewhat restricted from those return opportunities, you got to make certain that you still rely on your fundamentals, because the nature of it is if you don't get the ball, that off return has to be an active blocker anyway. He's an integral part of the return having success. And I think, when you look at it the past few weeks, whoever was aside Gunner has done a nice job, and that's a credit to Gunner as well. A great communicator, a great blocker, and then the other 10 guys on the football field, just making certain that the blocking is correct. The vision, all that stuff, has amounted to some success on that unit.
If you could just pick any guys you want to, on the roster for game day, would it be, an ideal world, 2 actual returners, or would you prefer running backs? Would you like both, one of each? Like, what would be your preference to that?
Yeah, so in terms of the returner position, in terms of the returner position, I think on the forefront of everything is always good decision making and catch mechanics. And to me, that's where I don't necessarily get into I want a running back there for sure, or I want a receiver there for sure. Like, I look at whoever has the best catch mechanics and decision making. If it's all equivalent, then obviously you want the guys with the best run skill. But as you look across the league, it's very unique, because some guys are using a lot more running backs, some guys are using more receivers, and it depends on who you surround them with too. So the scheme, does it feature more of a running back body? Does it feature more of a receiver body? And then also just playing into the catch mechanics and decision making, it's what suits that returner well. Just being in this league and designing these returns, you're like, okay, this suits this returner better, this suits this returner better, or this returner can do both returns. It all depends on the schematics and all that. And I think you're seeing that across the league as well.
I just actually like the way it worked out. It just kind of is returner running back.
Yeah.
I don't know I was wondering if that was a preference for you.
No, it wasn't necessarily a preference. I think we've had the luxury of our running backs having good ball skills. And that's been a big component of why they could be back there. And again, like I always assimilate what running backs are asked to do is be able to diagnose blocks, be able to set up blocks on offense, right? And then you see the same attributes show up on kickoff return as well. And it's the other thing is you see receivers sometimes when they've had a running back background, whether it be in college or high school, like that vision still shows up, so the versatility of those guys has been great.